for Iowa NRCS, and I have the least interesting topic of the day. But what might interest you is that NRCS is paying financial assistance for things like compost and biochar. Okay, so we're just going to quickly cover in about 10 minutes here the practice highlights of this soil carbon amendment practice, the limitations, information that we would need if you decided to pursue a contract with that practice, and then the process. Okay, the definition is using carbon-based amendments. So we're looking at things made from plant and animal byproducts. Primarily, we're looking at compost and biochar. The purposes or goals are to improve your soil organic matter, sequester that carbon, improve aggregate stability, and improve habitat for soil organisms. We've spent all day talking about compost, so I'm not really going to go into much detail on that. But just know that we're talking all forms of compost. So we've got some vermicompost there on that lower right picture, your left, and then the windrows up there. That's a feedlot situation up in northwest Iowa. Biochar. Who has looked into biochar? You guys, okay, see some hands? Awesome. So this is just the carbon-rich material that's left over after we've run it through pyrolysis. And pyrolysis is just extremely high temperatures with limited oxygen. So this is a ring of fire kiln. We put some woody material in there. We doused it with water, and then this is what we were left with. That structure there in the middle is actually from pine. So it depends on your feedstock that you're using, what that structure will look like, but I want you to pay attention to all of the little pores and the variety of difference in spaces of those pores, because that directly translates into the benefits of biochar. So with that additional pore space, depending on the soil that you're applying it to, if you've got a really heavy clay soil, the addition of biochar with bigger pore spaces would help increase the availability of those pores for holding water. The other thing about biochar is that when it goes through that burning process, it has a lot of exchange sites. So you could either have CEC with your cations, or you can even have anion exchange capacity depending on the temperature that they burn the stuff. Okay, but so you're going to see the biggest bang for your buck with sandier soils, degraded soils with low organic matter. That is where biochar has the greatest likelihood of improvements. So biochar, just think of it that with the pore spaces, it's really kind of a condominium for our microbes to live in, and compost is the food. So we're kind of talking about two different carbon sources there. But some questions to ask with either one of these amendments. What is your goal? Are you thinking about improving your soil structure, increasing organic matter or carbon? What do you plan to apply? Are you going to purchase it? Are you going to make it yourself? If you're using biochar, would you consider charging that with another product? Charging simply means to mix the biochar with a compost or manure. As I said, there's a lot of exchange sites on biochar, so if you put it in your field, it might tie up some of the nutrients from your cash crop, and so that's why people will charge it for a few weeks prior to application. So some things that you would need to think through: what field would you want to focus on? What method would you use to apply that? Because that biochar is light, fluffy stuff, And so you could mix it with compost or manure to help, with the ease of spreadability. And then what rate would you want to apply it? We also need to have current soil tests. So we need to have baseline results from your field that you are, if you apply for cost share. We would need to have, there's a list. I've got it, if you're interested, look me up. I've got my contact information here at the end, but I can show you all of the tests that you need to run. It's mostly your standard tests anyway that you're currently getting done. Okay. There are some products that are not covered under the soil carbon amendment. So that includes biochar made from corn stalks currently. So what we're trying to avoid is somebody coming in a commercial facility, baling every last corn stalk from a field to create biochar to sell it to somebody else to apply on a different field. We don't want to be making a problem in field A to treat a resource concern in field B. So that's the logic behind that limitation. We also can't apply biosolids. Raw manure is considered, would be considered under our nutrient management practice. So you can combine manure with biochar, but you cannot apply raw manure alone through this practice. It also does not include things like biostimulants. We talked earlier about humic and fulvic acids, those compost teas and extracts. Those are considered, or those could be covered under a conservation stewardship program application under a nutrient management practice. So we can potentially cover those, but just not under this soil carbon amendment practice. Okay. In Iowa, we have decided that we want at least 1 ton of the product applied per acre. That would be equivalent to 45 pounds per 1,000 square foot if you're looking at small scale applications. The payment caps for soil carbon amendment is $65,000 for a regular EQIP participant and $75,000 for historically underserved. So that is your beginning farmers and your limited resource farmers. The biochar practice pays quite a bit per acre. You're looking at 100% biochars, I think about $700 an acre. So that would cover, I think 80-ish acres. So that's why those limits are in place. So if you're thinking about applying, here's a laundry list of things that the NRCS office would need to know. So the goals, your soil fertility test results, we need soil health test results. So that would include soil organic carbon or soil organic matter test, maybe an aggregate stability test, depending on your resource concern. We also need the amendment analysis. So if you're making your own compost, this would come into play. These tests are not cheap, but they are required. So there's a list of, I think we need to know for compost, the C to N ratio, fecal coliform, salmonella, and there's one other item. All of this information is in our standard, and I would be glad to share that information with you if you have further questions. So we also need to know your farm operation details, tillage, rotation, your plans, and then the nutrient management component. If your product supplies more than 25 pounds of N or P, it would also trigger the nutrient management practice to be included in the contract. So that could be an additional payment to the soil carbon amendment. It's just something that you need to be aware of because there are rules that come with that nutrient management practice. So in a nutshell, if you're interested in any of this stuff, please reach out to your local NRCS office. The soil carbon amendment practice is brand new. This is the first year that it's been available. So reach out to the office. If they have not heard of it, please ask them to reach out to me or any of the area soil health specialists. We can guide them through the process. So you would be applying for the Environmental Quality Incentives Program if you're interested in the compost or biochar. You would be applying for the Conservation Stewardship Program if you're interested in something like a compost extract or tea, or a humic or fulvic acid. So just please reach out with any questions. There is my contact information. Are there any questions? I told you it was a very exciting topic. Yeah.
It wasn't like too much of the biochar.
The question was, can you apply too much? Yeah. So rates that I've seen published are typically 1 to 10 tons for ag operation, but I would use my standby answer for anything that somebody's wanting to try. I would try maybe a small field, part of a field, to see how it reacts to your management and your crops and your soil types. I would be cautious about making sure that that biochar is charged with compost or manure or something like that to make sure that you're not tying up nutrients from your cash crop.